Okay, we're ready for part 3.
Da, 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 da.
And in part 3, we're going to go through the actual worksheet or spreadsheet, all the different tabs. So let me bring that up. Okay. And you can see down here there's multiple tabs. We're on the overview tab, which just kind of goes through each of the different 6 tabs that exist on this spreadsheet. The next tab over is the downline multiplier effect, which we've talked about and you've seen in other presentations. So that's just a reminder there for you of how that compounding effect can work for your business. And then the next tab is about goal setting. And this is an area where you can put in your goals. Remember the goals that we used in the first part of this presentation that the director in Utah had, where one of her goals was to have 2,000 in sales and PRSV each month, and then to get 3 new recruits. And then for each goal, then you can define the action steps or the things that you need to do to achieve each of those goals. And then to hold yourself accountable, you define what metrics you're going to do to measure to make sure you're achieving those goals in the time frames that you set for yourself. So you put the metrics for tracking your sales in the example we're using here, and for tracking how many recruits you're getting for your second goal here, and so forth. So
And you want to make sure that you dwell on your success, because the easiest thing to do will be to beat yourself up over a goal you didn't achieve. So you need to dwell on and repeat your successes, because the example that we're given here with this particular superstar director, that was her goal to achieve $2,000 and get 3 recruits a month. But did she always do it? No. But if you could see her numbers, and I would love to, if you could see her numbers now, you just know if you have a goal set pretty high, if you don't necessarily get there every time, it's the process that's going to be so beneficial to you.
That's a great point. It really is about the process. It's about learning what's working and what's not working. And one nice reason to set goals is to help you understand what is working and what's not working, and then to make course corrections and adjustments as you go. And you'll find you'll start setting goals that are more achievable, and you'll start achieving your goals more regularly, and that's when the excitement will set in. So don't be deflated by setting goals and then not initially meeting them. You know, you'll become better at goal setting and better at meeting those goals the more you do goal setting in your business. Okay, so the next tab over is the metrics tab, which we went through in part 2. Again, this is where you would put in how many downline you have in each of the month as your downline grows, and what your team sales are.
And these are actual downline numbers and team sales, not goals, but actual.
Yep, this is tracking your actuals. Remember, you get your downline from the downline link on your workstation, and you get your GWV for your team sales from your downline link, and then you get your commissions from the commission link on your Sensi workstation. And as we talked about in part 2, over here is a space for you to do an assessment each month of what did you accomplish in that month, and was that in line with what your goals were, and then start to determine what it is you think you might need to do differently that's going to better align what you're doing with the goals that you want to achieve. Okay, so the next tab over is the business projection tab.
This is so fun.
And this is the one we talked about also in part 2.
This is one of my favorite, this is one of my favorite things to do every single month. So follow along and pay attention to the blue run rate financial projections too.
Okay, so remember, you're pulling those two from your metrics tracking sheet here. These 2 columns, this column here and this column here, are automatically calculated from the 3 numbers you pull from your Sensi workstation.
Ken's already put the formula in for you.
So you then take those 2 numbers and you put them in here under your average sales per team member here, and your team commission percentage here. Okay, and then all of this then calculates, or all of these numbers then calculate based on those 2 numbers. So let's say in the month of March was Mother's Day, and your team averaged $425 per month in sales
Per person
per month for that month, and your commission team percentage was, let's say, 6%. And you'll find that as your team numbers get bigger, that percentage declines. Your average sales per team member may not. That's a function of how good a training you're doing and how successful your team members are in and how active they are in selling Scentsy. So that this number will decline. Remember from the compensation training that they'll decline and then it will go up. So you'll see a decline, and then as you're adding more and more second and third generation directors to your team, then you'll see that dip and then you'll start to see a gradual increase just on how the compensation model works. So go back and review that if that doesn't make sense to you.
Now watch the blue section and we'll change it back to $300 average like we started. Look what it did to your numbers, and now we'll change the percentage back to a lower percentage, 5%, and look what it did. So that's something fun for you to kind of dink around with a little bit with some numbers that you already have or would ideally like to have.
So like we talked about in part 2, you can then extrapolate a little bit and go, okay, well, I wonder what my income might look like for my business, or the compensation for my business, when I get from 100 to 200 on my team, for example, or from 200 to 400 on my team. And as you'll recall from the downline multiplier effect, you can see how that can grow, and then you can start to project, okay, I wonder what that might mean in terms of compensation for my Scentsy business. This was a great tool for us to assess what kind of time investment we wanted to put into our Scentsy business, and actually it was a lot of this tool is what drove us to say, this business is worth putting our energy into it, because look at the kinds of possibility of return that you can get from it. So this was very useful for us to say, we may not be getting a great return early on when our downline is small, but if we can truly get all of these variables to work appropriately in our business, look what the potential is. The potential is large for us. The potential is large for you. Okay, do you want to add anything on that? Okay, so then these last 2 tabs are just graphical representations of the trends that are going on in your business. So
these are like quick reference views.
So let's do a quick example. Let's say your downline went from 25 in January to 35 in February to 50 in March to 100 in April. Then if you go over here to the Team Growth tab, that's just graphing here, as you can see, your number of downline over time. And it's kind of fun to watch as a year goes by, as that multiplier effect is kicking in, how your team growth can expand.
And it also will let you keep track of trends of recruiting on months that seem to be popular for you and your team to recruit, and months that seem to dip a little bit. And then again, you evaluate that and figure out, okay, why is it that we were able to get so many recruits in May? Oh, it's Mother's Day. So these are trends that are worth repeating and understanding, so you can carry on from them and grow from them.
And it's a good point, because the other graph, the Sales Growth tab over here, that pulls from the metrics tracking of the group wholesale volume that you're entering here of your team sales. So just like Danette mentioned, you'll see certain spikes in your sales every year when around some of these holidays, like in February you got Valentine's Day, and in May you've got Mother's Day. In what?
2 minutes left.
Oh, in Mother's Day in May. And then in the end of the year, of course, when you've got the holidays, and those are the prime selling seasons. So you'll begin to see some of those trends developing in your business, and you'll know what to expect in terms of your compensation in second and third and fourth years down the line, based on these trend lines that will be developing in your business. And these last 2 tabs give you a visual representation of that. Okay, so that's a review of the spreadsheet. Go in there and download it yourself and start to play around with it, and you'll start to get some sense of what's happening in your business and what the potential of your business can become over time.
And you are already making a commitment to your business because you followed this business projection worksheet. You followed this whole presentation, hopefully all three parts. So why not pass this information on to your downline? Encourage them to review the presentations as well, and get on our coffee talks. Take advantage of any and all trainings. If you are not on our Yahoo group yet, please send me an email so I can invite you. And the email is duh as in happy, .net@hotmail.com, because our Yahoo group is a mother load of information at your fingertips to allow you to make of your business what you want to make of it. So it's more than just a calendar full of all these training opportunities. There's files and links, etc. So continue to make the commitment to your business and to yourself, and by all means do the least you can do.